Hello friends, amigos, buen dia. So here we are on the last lesson of this series. As you know, in the last few lessons we have been looking at Spanish and Latin American culture and civilization, art, history, painting, music, and of course literature. Last time we met, we had looked at some prominent writers, in fact some Nobel Prize winners, all of them novelists. And in today's lesson, I intend to introduce you to four very important poets, all four of them Nobel Prize winners for literature. They are Vicente Aleixandre, Pablo Neruda, Juan Ramón Jiménez, and Octavio Paz. Of course, apart from these four poets, the very first one in fact to get the Nobel Prize for Literature was Gabriela Mistral, and we have already talked about her. So today we begin looking at these Nobel Prize winners from Spanish and Latin American literature. And the very first poet I want to take up with you is Juan Ramón Jiménez, the Spanish poet known for his lyrical poetry, for which he received the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1956. Juan Ramón Jiménez is from the south of Spain, the Andalusian region. He was born in 1881 in a small city of Andalusia called Moguer. He started writing really young. He was writing poems since his childhood, and one of his most beautiful, enduring works is called Platero y Yo. That is Platero and I. It is a collection of prose poems about a man and his donkey. Along with his translator wife Zenobia Camprubí, Juan Ramón had been translating Rabindranath Tagore's poetry into Spanish. And that lyrical quality we have in Tagore's poems can be seen in the writings of Platero y Yo as well as Juan Ramón Jiménez's other poems. So let us start with reading some excerpts from Platero y Yo, the prose poem. And I'll first give you a small excerpt in Spanish. It's a very simple extract, but even if you don't understand everything, you will appreciate the rhythm of the prose, the music, and of course, the imagery that he's making. Platero es pequeño, peludo, suave, tan blando por fuera, que se diría todo de algodón, que no lleva huesos. Solo los espejos de azabache de sus ojos son duros, cual dos escarabajos de cristal negro. Platero is a small donkey, a soft hairy donkey, so soft to the touch that he might be said to be made of cotton, with no bones. Only the jet mirrors of his eyes are hard, like two black crystal scarabs. I continue in Spanish. Lo dejo suelto y se va al prado, y acaricia tibiamente con su hocico, rozándolas apenas las florecillas rosas, celestes y gualdas. Lo llamo dulcemente Platero y viene a mí con un trotecillo alegre que parece que se ríe en no sé qué cascabeleo ideal. Let's look at it in English. I turn him loose, and he goes to the meadow, and with his nose he gently caresses the little flowers of rose and blue and gold. I call him softly, Platero, and he comes to me at a gay little trot that is like a laughter of a vague, idyllic, tinkling sound. I'll read out to you now one of his famous poems, which is titled Yo no soy yo. So, this is how the poem goes. Yo no soy yo. Soy este que va a mi lado sin yo verlo, que a veces olvido, el que calla, sereno, cuando hablo, el que perdona, dulce, cuando odio, el que pasea por donde no estoy, el que quedará en pie cuando yo muera. There's a lovely translation of this done by Robert Bly. Let us see this translation into English. I am not I. I am this one walking beside me whom I do not see, whom at times I manage to visit and whom at other times I forget, who remains calm and silent while I talk and forgives gently when I hate, who walks where I am not, who will remain standing when I die. So I bring you another poem where Juan Ramón Jiménez is saying that he will leave the world one day. It's a beautiful poem, and actually it's very simple because it's got verbs in the future tense, and I'm not going to give you any English translation because I think you're going to be able to understand with the Spanish that you have learned. It's simple and easy to understand. It's called Yo me iré. So that's how the poem begins. Y yo me iré, y se quedarán los pájaros cantando, y se quedará mi huerto con su verde árbol y con su pozo blanco. Todas las tardes el cielo será azul y plácido, y tocarán, como esta tarde están tocando, las campanas del campanario. Se morirán aquellos que me amaron, y el pueblo se hará nuevo cada año, y en el rincón de aquel mi huerto florido y encalado, mi espíritu errará nostálgico, y yo me iré y estaré solo, sin hogar, sin árbol verde, sin pozo blanco, sin cielo azul y plácido, y se quedarán los pájaros cantando. I hope you like this poem. It's a beautiful poem, and in Spanish you must have been able to appreciate the cadence, the rhythm. This is a typical early phase of modernism poem of Juan Ramón Jiménez. I was telling you that he and his wife Zenobia Camprubí translated Tagore, and these translations of Tagore, this entire process of translating Rabindranath Tagore's poetry into Spanish has left an imprint on his own rhythm and his poetic expression. And by reading the poetic prose that Juan Ramón wrote at that time, we can notice this identification to such an extent that we can actually speak of an Oriental Juan Ramón Jiménez, an Eastern Juan Ramón Jiménez, imbued by an idea of the community between man and nature with an Indian spirit. I will now bring to you the poetry of Vicente Aleixandre, who is one of the topmost poets of the 20th century and also received the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1977. He belonged to the famous poetic group of 27, which is also known as Generación del 27, along with Pedro Salinas, Rafael Alberti, Federico García Lorca, Luis Cernuda, and so many others. And most of his poetry is in fact, participates in the kind of vanguard poetry that was being written by the generation of 27. As far as Vicente Aleixandre is concerned, most of his poetry was written while he was recovering from an illness. He's considered really one of the most important surrealist poets of Spanish literature. Aleixandre's poetry is not as widely known and not as widely translated as, for example, Pablo Neruda or Octavio Paz. However, we have for you a translation of one of his poems by his translator, Stephen Kessler. So we will read excerpts from some of his poetry. I bring to you these beautiful verses, first in Spanish and then in English. Todo es noche profunda. Morir es olvidar palabras, resortes, vidrio, nubes, para atenerse a un orden invisible del día, pero cierto en la noche, en gran abismo. I'll read it to you in English translation, and you can see the kind of surrealist imagery there is in this small fragment. So, it is all deep night. To die is to forget words, springs, glass, clouds, to abide by an order, invisible all day but certain at night in the vast emptiness. I hope you like this fragment of the poem, and I bring to you yet another small fragment in which Vicente Aleixandre describes the night. En las noches profundas, correspondencia hallacen las palabras dejadas o dormidas en papeles volantes. ¿Quién las sabe o olvida? ¿Alguna vez acaso resonarán? ¿Quién sabe? En unos pocos corazones fraternos. And in English, in the deepest nights, words left behind or asleep may find their connections in scattered papers. Who knows? Or forgets them? Someday, perhaps, they'll resonate. Who knows? In a few sympathetic hearts. So these were some small fragments from some simple poems from Vicente Aleixandre, and I hope that you have been enjoying the poetry of these two masters, Nobel Prize winners from Spanish literature. And I'll now take you to two Latin American poets who are very, very popular in India as well as, of course, in the world, and have also won Nobel Prizes for literature for their poetry. I'm quite sure you're going to like them. So you have heard of the name of Pablo Neruda for sure, haven't you? So Neruda, yes, the Chilean poet. He was also a diplomat. In fact, he came to India. He served in the East for a very long time. His poetry is, of course, known all over the world and is available widely in English translations. Neruda's original name was Ricardo Eliezer Neftali Reyes Basoalto. He was born in 1904 and he died in 1971. Neruda was actually his pen name. Pablo Neruda was his pen name, and later he took it on, of course, as his legal name. Also started writing poetry when he was very, very young, when he was a child. And like him, he was also a diplomat. He served as a consul in several countries. His poetry is also marked by surrealism, and he was a very politically involved person. And of course, his poetry is also known for his romantic verses, for his love poems. His works, of course, have gone into several editions, several times, and they've been translated into many languages, and particularly one set of poems, his earliest work, which is known as 20 poemas de amor y una canción desesperada, 20 poems of love and a song of despair, are available perhaps in as many as more than 50 languages. Some of you may already be knowing this poem, but let us read it together. I'll first read it to you in Spanish. It's a rather long poem, but I'm sure that you will understand it because it's not very difficult, and of course it's full of music also. Puedo escribir los versos más tristes esta noche. Escribir, por ejemplo, la noche está estrellada y tiritan azules los astros a lo lejos. El viento de la noche gira en el cielo y canta. Puedo escribir los versos más tristes esta noche. Yo la quise, y a veces ella también me quiso, y en las noches como esta la tuve en mis brazos, la besé tantas veces bajo el cielo infinito. Ella me quiso. A veces yo también la quería. ¿Cómo no haber amado sus grandes ojos fijos? Puedo escribir los versos más tristes esta noche. Pensar que no la tengo, sentir que la he perdido. Oír la noche inmensa, más inmensa sin ella, y el verso cae al alma como al pasto el rocío. ¿Qué importa que mi amor no pudiera guardarla? La noche está estrellada y ella no está conmigo. Eso es todo. A lo lejos alguien canta. A lo lejos. Mi alma no se contenta con haberla perdido. Como para acercarla, mi mirada la busca, mi corazón la busca y ella no está conmigo. La misma noche que hace blanquear los mismos árboles, nosotros, los de entonces, ya no somos los mismos. Ya no la quiero, es cierto, pero cuánto la quise. Mi voz buscaba el viento para tocar su oído. De otro, será de otro, como antes de mis besos. Su voz, su cuerpo claro, sus ojos infinitos. Ya no la quiero, es cierto, pero tal vez la quiero. Es tan corto el amor y es tan largo el olvido, porque en noches como esta la tuve entre mis brazos. Mi alma no se contenta con haberla perdido, aunque este sea el último dolor que ella me causa y estos sean los últimos versos que yo le escribo. I'm sure you want to know and read this poem now in English. So I'll read now the English translation. Tonight, I can write the saddest lines. I can write the saddest poem of all tonight. Write, for instance, the night is full of stars and the stars blue shiver in the distance. The night wind whirls in the sky and sings. I can write the saddest poem of all tonight. I loved her, and sometimes she loved me too. On nights like this, I held her in my arms. I kissed her so many times under the infinite sky. She loved me. Sometimes I loved her. How could I not have loved her large, still eyes? I can write the saddest poem of all tonight. To think I don't have her, to feel that I have lost her, to hear the immense night more immense without her, and the poem falls to the soul as dew to the grass. What does it matter that my love couldn't keep her? The night is full of stars, and she's not with me. That's all. Far away someone sings, far away. My soul is lost without her. As if to bring her near, my eyes search for her. My heart searches for her, and she's not with me. The same night that whitens the same trees. We are not the same no longer. I no longer love her, true, but how much I loved her. My voice searched the wind to touch her ear. Someone else's. She will be someone else's, as she once belonged to my kisses. Her voice, her light body, her infinite eyes. I no longer love her, true, but perhaps I love her. Love is so short and forgetting so long. Because on nights like this I held her in my arms. My soul is lost without her. Although this may be the last pain she causes me, and this may be the last poem I write for her. And now we will go to familiarize ourselves with this great Mexican poet, a great friend of India, Octavio Paz. He was born in Mexico in 1914 and died in 1998. And together with Pablo Neruda and César Vallejo, he forms the triad of great poets who, after the decline of modernism, led the renewal of 20th century Spanish-American lyricism. He is the 1990 Nobel Prize for Literature. It was the very first one which was awarded to a Mexican author, and it was also, of course, a recognition of his immense and influential intellectual stature, which is reflected in a brilliant essayistic production also. Octavio Paz was also a diplomat, and he was ambassador of Mexico to India in the 1960s. So his stay in India, of course, deeply influenced his poetry. And it is in India here that he met Marie-José Tramini, who he married in 1964. The bulk of Octavio Paz's large production falls basically into these two genres, lyric poetry and essay. And India is a major presence in his works. In his essay, apart from his psychoanalytical essay on Mexican identity, El Laberinto de Soledad, The Labyrinth of Solitude, we would like to mention his book on India, Vislumbres de la India, In Light of India. Let's read a poem by Octavio Paz. I'm not going to bring you the entire poem, it's a long one, and I've chosen just 2 strophes from the poem, so I'll first read them in Spanish to you. Óyeme como quien oye llover, ni atenta ni distraída, pasos leves, llovizna, agua que es aire, aire que es tiempo. El día no acaba de irse, la noche no llega todavía. Figuraciones de la niebla al doblar la esquina. Figuraciones del tiempo en el recodo de esta pausa. Óyeme como quien oye llover. Relumbra el asfalto húmedo, el vaho se levanta y camina. La noche se abre y me mira. Eres tú y tu talle de vaho, tú y tu cara de noche, tú y tu pelo, lento relámpago, cruzas la calle y entras en mi frente, pasos de agua sobre mis párpados. Óyeme como quien oye llover. Let's listen to the English translation. As one listens to the rain. Listen to me as one listens to the rain, not attentive, not distracted, light footsteps, thin drizzle, water that is air, air that is time. The day is still leaving, the night has yet to arrive. Figurations of mist at the turn of the corner, figurations of time at the bend of this pause. Listen to me as one listens to the rain. Wet asphalt is shining. Steam rises and walks away. Night unfolds and looks at me. You are you and your body of steam. You and your face of night. You and your hair, unhurried lightning. You cross the street and enter my forehead. Footsteps of water cross my eyes. Listen to me as one listens to the rain. Well, that is it. I hope you have enjoyed the poetry of these 4 great masters of Spanish and Latin American poetry. We end our session here today, and we do hope that all these lovely words, these beautiful sounds and these beautiful verses inspire you to discover poetry from Spain and Latin America, not just in English translation, but also in its original Spanish. Thank you so much.